it's very hard to find fan bases that are like, this is awesome, and our team is awesome, and everything's going well. And maybe
unless you're Grand Canyon, they are the only program that all the fans are excited, no matter the score.
They have no idea how many games their team has played.
They're not sure what game they're playing.
They don't know what the score is.
They're just celebrating.
They're just like, we're here for a good time. On today's episode of Titus and Tate, the Duke Blue Devils are officially smashing the panic button, and Tate Frazier could not be happier about it.
Ding dong.
Duke has a losing record for the first time in how many years? How long has it been? You're the guy with all the stats.
The last century, 1999. That was the last time that they're saying that this happened. And I think Coach K right now, he's a little upset. And we're gonna do the panic button meter today. We're gonna figure out where all these programs, if they want to smash that button. Coach K. He even admitted, he even said it in the press conference. He wanted to smash that button.
He invoked the phrase or the term panic button.
It wasn't us.
Yeah, we didn't bring it up.
No.
Also, we live in a, as we've discussed.
It wasn't Piazza either.
As we've discussed on the show, the word bubble has been taken from us in college basketball. The greater world at large and these times of COVID have taken the word bubble from us.
It's kind of like when Kleenex, when they had the tissues and then people started just calling tissues Kleenexes and they lost it. Public domain. So
traditionally, this is about the time of year we start doing like bubble talk, but we don't own the word bubble anymore. It belongs to the world.
Yes.
So we have to come up with something else. So we're coming up with panic button status, which, as it turns out, no one else uses the phrase panic button.
AKA PBS.
The
panic button status.
The panic button status. So we're going to go through some teams, and we feel like, because this is the time of year, you got to start getting a feel. Do a temperature check. There's still a lot of basketball left to be played, Tate, but not that much basketball left to be played.
It is February.
It is February.
Yes.
So you might
want 5 weeks of the tournament.
You might want to start playing well if you're sucking. Also, Pac-12 update. I have been so excited to do this. This is something I've been wanting to do for a couple weeks. I had it prepared to do it last week, but the show was running a little long, and I decided, what the hell, I'll save it for this week.
Yeah.
I am doing my fraud power rankings. Yes. I am combining the two things I love more than anybody else, which is informing America about what's going on with West Coast basketball, and also calling athletes that I've never met frauds.
Yes. Perfect.
Those are my two passions in life, and I'm putting them together for this. Finally, Andy Katz is joining us as he does every Friday. It's Tier Talk. A little housekeeping out of the gate, Tate. I want to plug this phone number that we have, this hotline, if you will. This we had this idea last year. People might forget, and I mean that genuinely, because pretty much the moment we said we were doing this.
Who remembers anything from last year at this point?
The moment we said we were doing this, they canceled the tournament, and then everything just went away. But we had this idea last year to create a hotline for the friends of the program, all of you listening, to call it basically to be your therapy line for when, as we're getting into March, the calendar is turning into March. It is nut cutting time in college basketball. If you are a team on the bubble, now would be the time to start playing well, and maybe you're a team that's not playing well, and you're a fan of a team that's not playing well, and this is very frustrating to you.
Express yourself.
So we started this phone number, and we want people to call in, like, in the moment, raw emotion. What are you feeling? If you're my father and you're watching Indiana at Northwestern, and thankfully for him, the Hoosiers pulled it off in double overtime. If they lose that game, for example, maybe my dad's calling into the number and leaving a voicemail and saying, I've had it with this, whatever it is. So the number is this. Write it down. Put it in your phone. Save it for when you're hammered. We don't care. We're going to play some of the best ones on the show as we progress throughout the NCAA tournament. So here it is. Call us at 302-470-8283. Put it in your phone and make the contact be Titus and Tate therapy or something, or we suck. Just make it like we suck, and then your team loses its third game in a row. You're like, I gotta call the number. We suck. What
about the panic button?
Panic button. Yeah, just put panic button. There you go. 323-380-0685. We'll play some fun ones on the show, so I want to get that out of the way. There's that. For example, if, say, you're a fan of the Purdue Boilermakers, as I am, I'm a donor. Famously, I donated $35, and you just watch Marcus Carr banking a three to beat your team.
On the race to 69, by the way.
And then, by the way, Travion Williams has a play towards the end of the game where he's trying to win it for Purdue and gets called for travel, and Matt Painter is livid. He's steaming mad, and he's saying Travion was pushed, and they show the replay, and Robbie Hummel, who I don't need to remind you, Tate, Purdue basketball legend, has his number hanging in the rafters because at Purdue they retire jerseys, unlike Indiana, because Indiana's more about the name on the front, but Purdue they care more about the name on the back. So they're not afraid to put names in the rafters. Robbie Hummel is a Purdue legend, and he's watching the replay with Jason Benetti, and he goes, "Got to be honest, looked like a travel to me. I didn't see anything." So I don't know. It really makes you think. That if I'm a Purdue fan, I'm not happy about that. That Robbie Hummel is
Are you saying this is like a Kirk Herbstreit type thing where like the Purdue fans are going to turn on him simultaneously? They're like, you're supposed to be rooting for us. What is happening?
As a Purdue donor,
Duke fans did this with Jay Billis. They're like, why are you being objective? You're supposed to be with us.
Yeah. As a Purdue donor myself, I was not happy with it. So speaking of Duke, the Blue Devils lost to Notre Dame on the heels of. I didn't mean for that to be a pun, but on the heels of losing to the Heels.
Yeah. Hat on the hat. There
the
you go.
fourth home loss for Duke this year. Are you ready to call the Blue Devils done? Are you putting the fork in them? They are 7-8. What would we say? 1999 was the last time they had a losing record, but they were like good then, right?
November 22nd.
I was gonna say November. When's the last time they had a losing record in February?
Probably in 84, 83, something like that. Before Cade really turned things on and got like Amaker and Ferry, and of course Jay Billis now identifies with those guys, and they all came in and changed the program. And Coach K, to be quite honest with you, he doesn't seem too concerned. I do think if Coach K was really pressing the panic button, if he really, he asked the age-old question at one point, blip or bomb. That's what, when the FBI scandal happened, he said he thought it was more of a blip than a bomb. I think that Coach K is sticking with the blip. I think that right now, if it were a bomb, we would have more pressing concerns for the actual tournament. I think Coach K would actually be leading the charge to make sure that we are not going to Indianapolis, to make sure that we don't have a tournament to kind of sum up this season. Coach K is okay with it. So right now, we're going to leave him, I kind of let him be. I want to see how he plays this whole thing, because I think now he does the TV brand play, which is Coach K can go to CBS and be on and make some jokes.
Do you think he will?
I think he will. I think this is the first time
great question.
he's been able to do this ever in his career. This is the first time
point.
that Coach K can have archival footage of him, laughing on the air with some of, the game's best. Jay Wright and Coach K, breaking down what's going on.
Oh, my God.
In the Ohio State game,
I'm disgusted. Now I want Duke in the tournament. Oh, no.
He's going to be there. It's kind of like, when Nick Saban, like the one year he was in the national championship game, he was there talking about it. It feels weird,
dude.
But he's
Coach
there.
K in the studio with Seth Davis rubbing his belly, and just like, Coach, what about this time? And they're showing clips. And
Coach, your motion offense changed the game. Now let me see this.
No,
yeah,
I didn't even think about this.
Yeah.
So if you're a Duke fan, you're not even trying to talk yourself into like we can string. There's still time. There's
no. There is no time.
You're just like, it's done.
No, you were. I saw a headline. I just typed in Duke basketball, and the top news story was Coach K offers, top 5 point guard, for the next class. It is. We move on. People forget when Coach K's back went out, in '95, when Pete Cadet took over, and they didn't make the tournament, but it wasn't K's fault. It wasn't his record. The reason that he did this was because he wanted Vince Carter. He went to go recruit Vince Carter. That's what he did when his back was hurt. He was recruiting Vince Carter in Florida. Okay. Dean Smith was not very happy about this. He said, I thought your back was hurt. He said, he was recruiting. So right now, K is pivoted. He is back in the recruiting world. And you think, I joked and tweeted, like, what if I told you one and done is dead? It's not dead. K just got the wrong crop. Seriously. He looks at Sharif Cooper at Auburn and says, that's the kid I should have. Yeah, he looks at Cade Cunningham and said, that's the kid I should have.
But yeah, it's interesting because those are the sort of the reactions you have. Is like, oh my God, Duke is 7-8. Coach K is not getting any younger. Is this the end? Are we? Oh nope, they got three top 10 guys coming next year. Never mind. But I just saw people freaking out. Like, where does Duke go from here? The answer is they go to next year, and then away we go. That's it.
I think I don't want to bring it back to the Super Bowl because I know we're past that. We're in college basketball season right now. But a lot of people throughout the year they kept bringing up the comparison of Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and they were saying, who's the guy? Who's the one that really made this whole machine work? Good player, good program, good coach. Robert Kraft obviously chose good player. He's like, I support Tom Brady. That's my guy. But regardless, I think this year in college basketball, it was, the Brady-Belichick of this season was Coach K or the Crazies. And I think, atmosphere, environment, the fact that it's 115 degrees, the fact that after you play on one side, they come in and tighten your rim for the second half. I think those types of things that, usually happen at Cameron Indoor due to protocols are not happening this season. And I think it's understandable. And I think that's why it's a blip. I think Coach K is going to come back once he gets the crazies back in the building. That's the real juice, And I think the argument, as we all know, we know it's Tom Brady and we know it's the crazies. Conversation over.
That's
over.
It. Let's talk about other programs around the country, which is something we don't really necessarily
Let's do it.
We don't love to do it on the show. We would much rather just talk about Duke the whole time, but let's do it. So I wanted to frame it as this because we did this exercise last year where we were talking about we were trying to figure out how do we frame it? If you're a fan of a program, which fan bases are happy right now? Like which fan bases are like, this season is awesome. I can't wait for March. Like I feel so good about my team. Because college basketball, you want to make a comparison to the NFL. How about this comparison as well? It feels similar to college basketball fandom feels similar to NFL fandom in that most fan bases are miserable at all times. It doesn't matter. You win, you don't win by enough. You win 3 in a row and you're like, damn it. But we lost. It should be 4 in a row because if you look at that game a few weeks back, we blew that. It's very hard to find fan bases that are like, this is awesome and our team is awesome and everything's going well. And maybe
unless you're Grand Canyon, they are the only program that all the fans are excited no matter the score.
They have no idea how many games their team
has
played.
They're not sure what game they're playing.
They don't know what the score is.
They're just celebrating.
They're just like, we're here for a good time. And maybe selfishly, I want to do this exercise because as an Ohio State fan, I am very much on the happy side of things right now. So we're gonna have Andy Katz on to talk about his tiers. He's the tier king, as we know. But I have my tiers here. This is how I tiered it out. So my first tier is ecstatic, and these are the tiers. Maybe I should have Gonzaga and Baylor in their own tiers because Gonzaga and Baylor are obviously an ecstatic tier. And what I mean, it's not just that you're happy; it's that this is a season you are going to remember.
You're
forever.
beyond. Yes.
You are. My mind. The most ecstatic I've ever seen a fan base in all my time being around college basketball is 2015 Kentucky when they were up 41-7 on Bryce Alford and UCLA in Chicago, and watching those fans just like. I don't know. The way they're hugging each other, interacting at halftime was just like they are in a state of nirvana, and they were all throughout that season. I went to the game in Rupp, the final game in Rupp. They beat Florida or something, and then they're holding up shirts to say undefeated, and like no one wanted to leave the arena. They're like, this is the pinnacle of fandom, right? I feel like Gonzaga and Baylor are feeling that right now. Right? That would be a fair thing to say.
Absolutely.
So maybe they need their own tier because then I also threw in the ecstatic tier Michigan, Ohio State, and Illinois because I feel like those three Michigan fans are on cloud 9 right now, even though their team's not really playing.
And they can't be talked out of it either. So they have fully bought in, which I respect. I like the Michigan fans.
Even if Michigan, here's where you arrive at ecstatic mode is that even if haters are coming at you, you don't care.
Yeah,
you're just like,
and you
whatever,
can find
man.
the argument or the stat to make up for why this may be true or that may be true. So, like we brought up the quad 1 wins. I'm sure Michigan fans are at home and they're like, we have 4 quad 1 wins and we should have 5, but we got this game moved and da 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 da.
But I don't think they care. I think they're just like, we're having a good time. Like this has been a great season. Hunter Dickinson's awesome. Franz Wagner is our best player, but he's actually like our 3rd best player. But he's it's unbelievable how good our team has been so far. To the point that Illinois fans are throwing grenades in Michigan, saying you're dodging us. We were supposed to play Thursday night.
Yep.
Your women's team can play. You guys were quarantined at the exact same amount of time. You've had no positive tests. Why can't the men's team play? You're dodging us. That's what Illinois fans say. You know what Michigan fans say? Who cares? We don't care. We're having a great season. We're having a ton of fun. I think Ohio State is in that boat, and I speak from my experience. I don't know if all Ohio State fans feel the same way, but this team we lost Caleb Wesson, we lost Andre Wesson, Seth Towns. I was told. Might not even play all season because he's had these injury problems, and then he's been awesome, and the team has been great. And we're look at this, look at Kyle Young, look at that face.
Kyle Young is
EJ Liddell is like sneakily, he's gonna make an All-American team. It's not gonna be first team All-American, but EJ Liddell
perfectly 3rd team.
Yeah, perfectly a 3rd team All-American. And yeah, so it's all gravy for Ohio State right now. They're gonna rip my heart out. They're going to find a way to they're gonna rip my heart out, and I know that. But I would say right now on February 11th, I'm ecstatic. So I put them there. And then Illinois, I think, we were talking about this, that they've dipped down, but they've kind of come back. And
Illinois fans are probably the most ecstatic right now because I think that they had a lull and they had a period of time where maybe they lost hope. Maybe they thought this wasn't the year, even though I thought it was going to be the year. And then Coffee Coburn was really the one I think that kind of turned it on a little bit. These big emphatic dunks, these powerful messages on the floor. I know a lot of people, the analytics people will say momentum does not exist. Coffee Coburn did something. He brought a spark to this team. And then Ayo's been, as we both know, one of the best guards in the country, is in consideration for National Player of the Year at this point. And it's beyond me that he's 6'5". He looks the part of an NBA player, yet he's not, listed as a potential lottery pick, but that's besides the point. But Illinois fans right now, they're saying this is good. This is what we want.
They love Andre Curbelo too, which is hilarious. How excited we put out our list of the best freshmen, the freshmen we like, and the Purdue fans were coming at our necks, and Illinois,
of course.
So that's another sense of just like I kind of contradicting myself about how I just said they don't care about the haters, but I don't know. It feels different. It feels like when things are going well, you just feel like the Illinois fans are ecstatic. They're very happy because, as you said, it felt like the wheels were falling off. The wheels have been put back on. The wheels weren't falling off. They were just changing their tires.
Yeah.
They were just doing a pit stop to change tires. All right, so my happy teams, these are the fan bases I think are pretty happy. I have Alabama. I think you have to say Alabama.
Yes.
I mean,
Nate Oates is happy.
They just lost to Missouri. The dream of a perfect SEC season is dead. But this is a team that was unranked for most of the season, then suddenly got hot and unlocked something. And I guess it was just they make shots. We'll say that.
Literally.
I guess that was it. And everything started clicking, and they started knocking off teams. And suddenly you look up, and you and I are having a conversation about can Alabama run the table in the SEC and do they deserve to be in consideration for a 1 seed and all this kind of stuff. Cooled down a little bit, but there's not an Alabama basketball fan on earth that's like, I'm not pleased with losing to Missouri, or like they lost to Oklahoma. That's right. I knew they had another loss. Oklahoma, Missouri recently, so like it's not, they don't have the a ton of momentum that they had a couple weeks ago, but if you're an Alabama fan, you're still happy with where things are at right now.
And, we always look at Vegas, with these types of things. And Fox Bet, their odds are the exact same, plus 1,700 as Illinois. So I think, we were just talking about a team that's ecstatic, but Vegas says that Illinois and Alabama are on the same, basically at the same level to go win a championship.
Also, the Alabama, the perspective for Alabama fans might not even be about this season. It's like the program.
It's the Nate Oates era.
Yeah,
yes.
The program momentum that's being built. So you're happy if you're an Alabama fan for sure. Other teams I have as happy: Oklahoma certainly. Pick to finish sixth in the Big 12. You could argue they're the second best Big 12 team. I don't think they are. I think West Virginia probably is, but at least right now,
plus 10,000 to win the championship. Those are ridiculous odds for Oklahoma. A very good team.
Now?
Yes, plus 10,000 according to Fox Bet.
So if I explain this to me, if I bet $100, I would win 10,000.
Yes, I think something like that. Yeah. It's
For
too many zeros for me.
Oh my God. That's pretty disrespectful, to be honest with you.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah, but Oklahoma fans are happy. They
the same as Syracuse, the same as Miami,
Syracuse,
the same as Providence,
What?
the same as Washington, the same as
as
Butler,
Washington.
the same as Utah.
You're lying.
I'm serious.
Oklahoma.
Foxbet.com.
What?
There you go.
None of those teams are making the tournament.
Well,
Most of
Oklahoma
those teams are
is a bet right there. You talk about long shot odds.
There you go.
Lon Kruger been to the Final Four before, by the way.
Oklahoma's happy. They got 4 top 10 wins. They had 3 in a row at one point. Their fan base.
They had the belt at one point. America
they
turned
had the
and looked at
Intercontinental
Oklahoma
belt.
and said they're a good team. Yes.
USC is on my list as well. 15-3, just absolutely destroyed UCLA in the big showdown on Saturday, the LA showdown for first place. So now they're tied up for first place, but USC has the tiebreaker. And
Biggest rivalry in basketball,
according
according to John Rothstein.
He said it was the best rivalry game of the day.
I know.
Oh my God!
It just wasn't the time.
Also, Evan Mobley, who I cannot sing his praises enough, and every time you and I get in front of microphones, I want to talk about Evan Mobley. I think he's going to be a first-team All-American, and I looked it up today because I was interested. When's the last time USC had a first-team All-American? 1992, Harold Miner.
Wow.
It's been a while. So if you're a USC basketball
the
fan,
new
you're
Jordan.
Like, yeah. You're excited.
People forget.
that
Harold
you
Miner, the first new Jordan.
I have West Virginia as a happy team. Just swept Texas Tech. They gave Gonzaga's best game of the year. People forget that West Virginia, in the eyes of some, hung with Gonzaga a little bit, even though that was more like about Jalen Suggs maybe exploding his Achilles and then not. But I don't know. West Virginia's good. They're a fun team to watch, and also just in general, if you're a West Virginia fan, not that you didn't love Press Virginia, because Javon Carter is like a legend, and that era of West Virginia basketball is awesome, but you got to love an offensive-minded team. I mean, you're not going to find a West Virginia fan that's going to say anything bad about Press Virginia, but deep down they know that like watching Miles McBride and company get buckets is a little bit more fun than just like helter-skelter all over the place, forcing turnovers and trying to win rock fights.
And it's kind of good because they got over, Shoeboy leaves and goes to Kentucky. They lose Big O, and that could be a bad sign for the program. But ever since that happened, it seems like things are going well for West Virginia and Bob Huggins. So they've turned up.
I'll rip through some of these. I have Texas Tech as I think Texas Tech fans are happy. They just got swept by West Virginia. Chris Beard got tossed, which was amazing
yes
way to go out, and then he fist bumped Huggins on his way out. But Texas Tech is, again, if we're talking like program momentum, Texas Tech has it going, and they're good. Chris Beard is a guy who has a lot of.
Mac McClung. Oh my goodness.
Mac McClung has been awesome.
He really has been. It's not a joke. Like we're not doing an Alex Caruso with him. He really is playing really well.
He's been amazing, and the program's awesome. And I think if you're a Texas Tech fan, given that people forget Texas Tech, defending runner-up, lost to Virginia in overtime in the last national championship game we saw, and they got it going, so they're fine. I mean, it's the season. They sometimes play to their competition, this particular team, but I think if you're a Texas Tech fan, you're like, I'm happy enough. Texas Tech is good enough to make the Final Four, and I think if you're a Texas Tech fan, that's all you really want, is just to know that like we're good enough to make the Final Four. I trust Chris Beard, whether it happens or not. We're in a good spot right now. Virginia Tech, I would say they're happy. They 14-4. They beat Villanova, beat Virginia. They were also blown out by Syracuse and Penn State. So it's not like I don't think any Virginia Tech fans saying like we're the best team in the ACC or this feels like a Final Four team or whatever. But given the context of that program, and again, like if we're just talking big picture program, I think every Virginia Tech fan is happy, especially when you beat Virginia. That's got to be
you own your own state.
You're in a good spot.
That's what, and Mike Young, when they lost Buzz Williams, it felt like Buzz was a part of the Tony Bennett, like, next class of ACC top coaches that was getting groomed to come in behind Roy and Coach K. Like, Brownell is probably in that group as well. And when he left, there was this weird, wait a second, so the ACC is, not as good as the SEC. Wait, what? That's not what you do. And the fact that Mike Young came from Wofford, a small school, and is able to create a culture that they have all bought in. They're a fun team to watch. They're very tough to play. Nobody wants to play Virginia Tech. I'm not saying that Virginia Tech is going to win a national championship this year. Not saying they're going to make a run to the Final Four. But that is a Sweet 16 type team,
Which is, for Virginia Tech fans, they're like, we'll take it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes. So
perfect.
Mike Young they hit the panic button when Buzz left.
Yeah.
Mike Young is safe.
And they have taken their hand off, and they are
Mr. November, by the way.
Not anymore. We took that away from him, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I guess because he's winning now.
He's winning now, so there you go.
But he needs a name. We got to figure it out.
I would throw Purdue in the mix. They lost tonight. We're recording this Thursday night. They just lost to Minnesota, as I said, a close game.
Plus 8,000 to win the championship, Purdue.
Save your money. Don't bet on Purdue to win the championship. Save it for the Purdue Day of Giving and give it to the school.
I love Zach Edey, by the way. So Purdue fans that were upset that he wasn't on our list, we were trying to put like the first team all freshman list. We can't put
Purdue fans literally wanted all four of the freshmen that are in the rotation on the list.
You think I didn't want to put Day'Ron Sharp or Caleb Love? You know what I mean? Come on.
But I think Purdue fans are pretty happy with how the season's going. They're very, very young. They have no seniors on the team. They play four freshmen. They would like me to mention that they swept Ohio State, but again, Ohio State
disregard that.
Disregarded. We neither game do we have our full roster, so it doesn't really count. And they've won 6 of 9. The Purdue fans, I think, are happy with how the season's going. And then the other two I had on my happy tier is Rutgers, who a little up and down season, but again, if we're talking context of Rutgers basketball, they are definitely a good team. They are 100% in the tournament. They've been ranked for most of the season. That's a win. I think Rutgers fans are happy.
Yep.
And then Sister Jean, Loyola Chicago.
Oh,
they're
my
happy.
gosh.
They're happy Drake lost. They're playing Drake coming up, actually. The Loyola Drake showdown for the Missouri Valley crown. But people are now talking about Loyola might be better than they were when they went to the Final Four, Tate.
people
are saying.
By people, you mean Cameron Krutwig, who is on the team, and he, I think he talked to Matt Norlander and said that, he basically is a big-time performer. There's a lot of guys in basketball. He shows up in the big games, so
he said, "What was his quote? I'm the Zion of the Missouri
something
Valley?
like that." Yes, or I am the new Jordan, or I can't remember exactly what he said.
No,
but
we're making that up, people. He didn't say that.
Sister Jean, though, I mean, she's locked in. Loyola is one of those teams where it would make sense that they make a Sweet 16 run or something like that.
Yeah.
So, Sister Meme, she's back. She'll never leave. She'll always be here.
I think those are all the happy. I had this tier, which I called the just wake me up when it's March.
Yep.
They're just numb. They don't really feel anything. They're like, I mean, like I said, just wake me. I don't know. Just give me to March. I don't really care.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin is on the list.
Number one.
Wisconsin's
Please
100%
get me to the tournament so I can take some pivotal charges,
just
please.
like Wisconsin fans are like, I mean, we're not as good as I thought we were, but also like
we got a chance in every game.
We got a chance in every game.
Yep.
So like, who cares? We could lose the next 5. And I'm not that mad. We could win the next 5. I'm not getting that excited. Just get to March.
Can I guess the next one? This is fun.
Yeah, go ahead.
Florida State.
I have 4 on my list.
Florida
You got
State?
one. Florida State is also on the list.
Boom. Plus 2,500 to win it all. That's another team to look at.
Florida State is on the list. Exact same thing as Wisconsin. They're just like, I don't know. Just give me to March. I don't.
Scotty Barnes is looking at Leonard Hamilton. He's like, "Can I start?" He put up that LeVar Ball quote that said Michael Jordan didn't come off the bench, and he just shows it to Leonard Hamilton.
Who else? I like this. You've guessed 2 so far.
Okay, 2 so far. Florida State. I was just going through Virginia.
Virginia's
Get
on
me
my list.
to the tournament. Let me show you that we're for real.
Every Virginia fan.
Yep.
I don't need to win the ACC again.
Yep.
I don't care. We do it every year. It's boring. We already won the national. Just give me to March, and that's the only time I feel alive is
Yes.
March.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
I'm dead inside because I have experienced both extremes.
I
in
think
the
I
past
know
2
the
tournaments.
last one. I'm fired up.
If you're going 4 for 4, this is amazing.
The UConn Huskies.
No, but
Oh,
I
wow.
should add UConn to the
Okay,
list.
okay.
Because, well, the only reason I didn't put UConn on the list is because UConn might not be in the tournament. I think UConn has work to do first between now and March.
If you're the selection committee, when you see James Bouknight's return is imminent, you just say, put him in. Yeah.
Book that.
Yeah,
Book
book-
that.
yeah,
We're putting you in the tournament. But
Yeah.
UConn's a good one. It's just that as it stands right now, I'm not. If I'm a UConn fan, I'm not exactly confident that we're in the tournament today. So I wouldn't put UConn. But the last one is a Big East team, and you should know it. And that
Villanova.
It's Villanova.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was that was the one I wanted to go with, but I'm also Villanova likes just kind of just dominating in the Big East,
Yeah.
like over here,
Yeah.
like they just enjoy it.
I have.
So it's hard for me to tell where they are, where they really are.
I think when you won 2 titles and you win the Big East every
Oh.
year, I think they're just like, and they had the long pause, so it killed all the momentum and turned.
Yeah.
So like they come back, and now Villanova fans. If I'm a Villanova fan, I'm like, cool, we're back, but also, I don't care anymore. Like this is stupid. Xavier hasn't played a game in like 5 months, and they're in the Big East hunt as well ish. But the rest of the Big East is like. They're not bad per se, but also the whole Big East feels like they're on the bubble.
Yep.
UConn, Seton
True.
Hall, St. John's, Providence is probably on the wrong side now. So I think Villanova fans are probably just like, just fast forward. Let's just get to March.
And I think Villanova, like Mark Few said last week, they have the best win of the season on the road against a fully healthy, hot Texas team. And, that win, in my mind, has kind of carried them through the year. So, like, they just want to get to the tournament and play, show that they're really a top team. Texas is another team that they just want to just basically endure. They want to endure the rest of the regular season and then hope when the lights turn on that Matt Coleman and Ramey and Greg Brown and Kai Jones and Sims and those guys just get going again. So
I'm going to rip through these 4 real quick. We don't need to talk about them because we talk about them a lot on the show. This tier is called, we definitely aren't great, but I don't think we suck as bad as everyone thinks we do. And
Clemson.
My 4, the 4 I had on that were UCLA, Louisville,
yes,
North Carolina,
for sure,
and Kansas. Those are my 4.
I won't even talk about North Carolina because I talk about them enough. Louisville is a team that is getting a little bit disrespected, I feel like, especially in the ACC.
Should Mike Rutherford come back on?
Let's get him on because, David Johnson is going to be a first-round draft pick, we believe.
Yeah.
Carlick Jones has been great.
He's been awesome.
And, is obviously a contender for ACC Player of the Year as well. So, that team, that backcourt, they're going to be fun to watch in March. So don't sleep on Louisville. As much as we don't talk about them, They're a good
That's
team.
a great. That's yeah. They're perfect for that tier. We definitely aren't great, but I don't think we suck as bad as everyone thinks. That's Louisville, UCLA.
Stop hating.
Yeah, Kansas. So we're getting closer to the panic button for me. This tier is called "I'm doing my best to put on a brave face, but deep down I think we might suck." We're not panicking yet. Like, I'm still on the outside, not panicking, but deep down I'm like, do we suck? We might suck.
Yes.
Houston is the top of that list.
Houston, we have a problem. Yeah.
Houston, we have a problem. You've lost to East. They're 17-2. They beat, what were their two good ones? Texas Tech and did they beat BYU early in the season?
I think that was the other one.
I feel like everyone beat BYU in there. So USC smoked BYU. BYU was.
We love you, Mark Pope.
They lost to East Carolina and Tulsa though, and for me,
and dodged Gonzaga. That was the real issue for me.
That was a big issue too. For Andy Katz, he says he said on our show many times, I will allow you to lose one conference game. Like this happens in college basketball. It's basketball. He shrugs his shoulders. You cannot lose to East Carolina and Tulsa. These are bad teams. Tulsa's not as bad as East Carolina. East Carolina is dreadful, and Houston lost to East Carolina.
East Carolina is so bad, and it was so far fetched that they would win that game that their players said it was the greatest upset in basketball history.
Yeah. So Houston, we can move along from them. Missouri, I have on the list as well. The Missouri fans are putting on a brave face. They've been down this road before. This is the life of a Missouri basketball fan. 0 Final Fours in program history. They lived through the Frank Haith years. They lived through the Quinn Snyder years when he made them believe, only to
Quinn got him almost there.
Yeah, he got him almost there. Yeah. Oh no, he got him close enough to care, and then he rips their heart out. And I know Missouri fans are like, I still believe in this team. We are good, but also they're saying that through clenched teeth, and they're like, I don't like where this is going. That we just lost to Ole Miss. I don't like that at all. Also, I'm going to stick in the SEC. Another team is Tennessee. As a team that's not panicking, definitely not panicking.
Yeah, we're not panicking.
But it also, if I'm a Tennessee fan and someone told me they just came back from the future and my team lost in the second round because they scored 44 points in a 6-versus-3 game or something, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Tennessee is very confounding because they have these two post players in Pons and Fulkerson where they are the primary, focus of their entire offense. It's to feed the post, these guys, get them going. Fulkerson, one of my favorite players. I love getting folked up, and he killed Kentucky last year and usually did his entire career there. But their young guards, are so good. It does feel like at some point
they have they're two teams.
They can unleash this team.
They feel like they're two teams coexisting. Where it's like you got the old guard of the team that was around for Schofield and Grant Williams, and then you got the new fresh faces, the freshmen.
It's the 3 stars and the 4 stars that got you the ability to get these 5-star guys.
Exactly.
And those guys are like, get out of the way.
And the 5-star are like, give us the keys.
It's North Carolina. It's the same thing. They're like Garrison Brooks. Get out of my face.
Tennessee fans, they're not panicking, but they're also saying I'm not panicking a bunch.
They have an identity issue right now. They got to figure out who they are.
Creighton's on the list. I think that's self-explanatory. I think
if you've watched Creighton play, you get it.
And not even just this year, in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, I'm putting on the list. Swept by TCU. We are on the Oklahoma State bandwagon, but at the same time,
we love Cade. I trust Cade.
Yeah.
I like the idea that they can, make some noise in March. But, if you told me to close my eyes and see what I see for this team, I see an 8-9 loss, where they're the 8 seed and they lose. That's and we're all just so annoyed because we're like, we didn't even get to see Cade Cunningham play.
I see Trae Young losing in the first round.
Exactly.
And he plays well, but it's like, all right.
It's like, man, we're not going to get it.
It's
over.
It's over. And then I had 2 other ones. San Diego State. They are kind of hot right now in the sense that they have won 5 straight.
They're blowing people out.
Games by 20. What was I saw CBB on Fox tweeted the stat that the 5 straight conference wins by 25 plus points, which is something that hasn't happened in any conference since like 1999 or something. But then you look at like who they're actually playing. It's like, oh my god.
What if we just do that with stats from now on? We just say it's since 1999.
Yeah, so everything since 1999. Their best win was UCLA to open the season, and the only other tournament team, the only team that's even going to maybe sniff the tournament that they've beat since then, since the first game of the season, is Colorado State. They've just been beating up on the bottom of the Mountain West, and they have, coming up, they have a decent part of the schedule. So we'll see what happens. But right now, San Diego State. If I'm a San Diego State fan, I'm like, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
And then finally, the last one is Drake. Drake is. It's not just that they lost to Valpo. Valpo is bad. Yeah. They a couple weeks ago they were taken to overtime by Illinois State, who sucks. They had to come from behind to beat Valpo the first time they played him. And then they played him a couple nights later. Maybe it was the next night, and that's when they lose. And they didn't just lose; they lost by 17. I think every Drake fan was just like, it's cool to be undefeated, but now that we've lost, like, we suck.
They went to overtime against Illinois State, and it kind of felt like, it was, they realized they're undefeated, they're thinking about it, so you kind of give them a pass. The next game they come out, they play Illinois State again, they blow them out, they're doing 360 dunks, so you say, hey,
yeah,
Drake seems like they've gotten over the hump, and then, they kind of really hit the real roadblock, and we're officially off Drake. No more God's plan.
All right, this is it. We've arrived. This is full blown panic town. This is this is my tier of teams that are full blown panicking. You said this was a team that just wants to get to the tournament. I have them as a full blown panic team. The Texas Longhorns. They have lost 3 in a row and 4 of 5 heading into their game that they had on. They just beat Kansas State. What was it? This is the stat I had written down. Since they beat Kansas by 25 in Allen Fieldhouse on January 2nd, Tate, we remember that game. It was a historic loss for Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse. Texas is 4-4, and their wins are a 6-point win over Iowa State at home, who Iowa State is abysmal. Their 2 wins still are against SWAC teams. Those are the only teams that Iowa State has beaten this year. The 2-point win at West Virginia when they needed the miracle shot from Andrew Jones to win. They beat Kansas State by 15 at home, and then they just beat Kansas State on Tuesday by 3. And Kansas State is not a good basketball team. So those are the only wins that Texas has had. They've had COVID issues. They've had not just with Shaka Smart, but they've had starters out, and it affects people differently, not just physically, but mentally. As we've talked about many times, some teams come back and are playing better. It seems other teams are Clemson, and they suck when they come back from pause. So I don't know what's going on, but if I'm a Texas fan, I do not like what I'm seeing, given that. I don't know, a month ago we were talking about Texas as maybe knocking on the door of being in there with Gonzaga and Baylor. And
there was a moment in time where it didn't seem far-fetched to think maybe Texas competes with Baylor for the Big 12.
Yeah.
And now that seems incredulous to say.
Yeah. So Texas is definitely on the list. I'm throwing Iowa on the list, full-blown panic. Do you agree with this?
I think that Iowa and Texas are both 2 teams that at the beginning, if you asked me into November, December, I would have, probably be willing to bet, $100, something like that, and say they're going to make the Final Four. I really like these 2 teams. I think they have what it takes. So it's really hard for me to take the full turn and the full pivot and say I am off with these teams, or I think that they don't have a real shot. Because I do think it's all there, and they can turn it on. It's hard to match up with Luka Garza. It's hard to match up with the shooting and the offense of Iowa. But it also, we've seen the show before with Iowa.
That's what it is.
And that's what's terrifying. And the same with Shaka Smart.
February Fran, who really burst onto the scene in 2016 when I was ranked 4th, and then the wheels just completely fell off. The Jared Uthoff senior year. That's the fear with Iowa.
And the tough part with McCaffrey and that team and the expectations that surround having a National Player of the Year is if you go to the tournament and you lose in the Sweet 16, the fallout from that can be catastrophic because
Rick
of the
Barnes never recovered from
Yes.
Kevin Durant losing in the second round. His reputation never recovered in Austin.
Now everyone thinks he's a bad coach.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I'm putting Iowa. They beat Rutgers Wednesday, but they lost 4 or 5 before that. Swept by Indiana. Again, Iowa's not a bad basketball team, but I think the expectation for Iowa was fine. It was kind of Final Four or bust this year, and it's feeling like it's going to be bust. So I'm hitting the panic button if I'm an Iowa fan. I'm throwing Clemson on the list. They've kind of come back. I know they beat Carolina. I know they beat Syracuse. But is that really enough? The rest of Clemson's schedule is garbage. They got like Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Pitt, Notre Dame, Miami. I think like those are the only teams they have left in the regular season. If I'm a Clemson fan, I've already hit the panic button, and that's what it is. I'm not hitting the panic button today. I hit it a couple weeks ago, and I'm not taking it off just because we beat Carolina and Syracuse. Just because we beat 2 bubble teams, I'm not saying, great, now we're in a good spot.
Yeah, they seem very high on their defense. They think, I've heard some Clemson fans compare themselves to Virginia's defense. I think that might be a little, there's a lot of bravado behind that. And I like the idea of Clemson being a defensive team, a tough out in the tournament.
Yeah.
I see that. Brownell's a good coach, and I like Amir Sims. I think he's a great, senior leader for this team and kind of sets the tone for them. But there is a ceiling there.
Yeah.
We all see the ceiling. But, Brownell and, man, I mean, they're and McCaffrey are both in the same spot, to be honest with you, where the fan base is at the point where they expect the next echelon to be crossed. Mm-hmm. And that's never fun when you talk about hot seats.
Yeah.
And it's not even that you're bad or the team's bad or going to the Sweet 16 is bad. It's just that somehow the preconceived notion has outgrown the reality of the situation. And that's not fun. Because that's how you get fired. That's how you mutually part ways.
That's how you're let go. You're in a mutual decision. I had Minnesota as a panic button team, but they just beat Purdue. But still, it was in the barn, so it doesn't count. Minnesota, the panic button is that they're still 0-6 away from home, and they just lost to Rutgers last week with it was a close game, is what I meant to say. They lost to Rutgers. It was like a 4-point game or something. But other than that game last week, the other 5 games they've played away from home, they've all lost by double digits. They are absolute garbage away from home. And that would consider Minnesota, like, they're probably still going to make the tournament, but if I'm a Minnesota fan, I'm like, who cares? It's not played in the barn, so we're going to lose.
Minnesota hit the panic button when the NCAA said the tournament was in Indianapolis.
Yeah, right.
Immediately they hit the panic button.
And then I guess the last tier I had was, I just said, it's labeled this. Buddy, I've been hitting the panic button all year. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is Duke and Michigan State and Kentucky and Syracuse were the 4 I had on the list. So there you go.
I think if you're a Syracuse fan, when Buddy Boeheim agreed to go there, you knew what was going to,
the panic button then.
Yeah, I think that's when you hit it. But I think you literally, you threw the panic button out the window when he ate a booger the other night.
Buddy didn't. Jim.
No, Jim. I'm talking about Buddy.
No, you said when Buddy Boeheim went there.
No. Well, that was a separate thought. But
you said he.
In that thought, but you throw the panic button away when he eats.
No, because that would be breaking news. That would be a huge story. If Buddy Boeheim was picking his nose and eating it on TV, that would be, in my mind, the biggest story in college basketball. That he is his father's son. I would be like, oh my God, this is amazing. That Buddy Boeheim is also. They just get the Boeheim household. They just sit around and pick their nose and eat it. That's what they do.
If you're Jim Boeheim, you have to have someone let you know when you're on camera. You have to.
Can I say that I will take from this Syracuse season more.
Look, we're all human. I'm not judging anybody, but I'm just saying that man is a veteran. You know what I mean? Like, he knows.
I am going to take more memories of Jim Boeheim on the bench than anything that Syracuse has done on the court this year.
Yes.
More memories of Jim Boeheim falling over, the mask he's wearing, the nose he's picking. Oh man, that's how I see it. Those are my tiers. Was that a worthwhile exercise? I don't know.
I will say though, if you want to keep someone from asking you why you're letting your son take all the shots, that's something you do. It's like no one's gonna talk to you after that. They're just gonna leave you alone. Like,
or they just want to talk to you about that, and not your son. I wanted to ask you about Buddy, but now that you're picking your nose, let's talk about that.
The king of diversion.
All right, let's talk to Andy Katz. Let's see how he sees his tiers. I have a feeling he didn't tear it out with Buddy. I've been hitting the panic button, and I'm doing my best to put on a brave face. But who knows? Andy surprises us from time to time, so let's talk to him and see what he says. Joining us as he does every Friday is Andy Katz with his tiers. He's got 4 tiers this week, and let's just jump right into it, Andy. Last week, you came prepared with notes, with evidence. I did not leave Ohio State out purposely. This is what happened.
All the teams are accounted for this week.
All the teams are accounted for this week. And do my eyes deceive me, Andy, or do I see the Ohio State Buckeyes as a Tier 1 team? I want to get excited about this, but also I'm worried that maybe you're just overcompensating for what happened last week. What's going on?
I am not. As you know, they have the most Quad 1 wins with 8. But what I wanted to do this week was essentially try to predict what the selection committee will do on Saturday when they unveil their top 16. So it's a nice even number. Why not have 4 tiers of 4 and try to predict in each tier, or essentially each seed, which way the committee will go?
So that's really what it is. It's not. I get excited when I see that Tier 1 has Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, and Ohio State. But really, all you're saying is that you think Ohio State's a 1 seed, but they're not on the same tier as Gonzaga and Baylor.
Well, yes. If we were doing it the way we were doing it last week, I would have a Tier 1 of Gonzaga, Baylor, and then I would have a Tier 2 of Ohio State actually ahead of Michigan, even though they're not in the standings. So I would have a little bit of a line in between the two. a little separation. But for these purposes, I wanted to try to do a little prediction here. We like predicting. And that is tier 1, meaning the 4 ones.
Well, I'll flesh it out for the listeners. Tier 1, your 1 seeds. Again, you are predicting this. You're absolving yourself of blame. You're not saying this is how you see it. You're saying this is how you think the committee is going to see it. Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Ohio State is the 1 seeds. Illinois, Villanova, Virginia, Alabama as 2s. West Virginia, Iowa, Oklahoma, Houston as 3s. Missouri, USC, Tennessee, Texas Tech are the 4s, or what we're anticipating on Saturday when the committee releases it. Since we are talking about Ohio State, since we are talking about Michigan, I noticed Illinois is the first team that you have as a tier 2 seed. My question would be this, Andy: as you look at those 3 teams, how much do you think the Big Ten standings matter in the sense that I'm getting very paranoid about the idea that Michigan's not playing a lot of games right now, and I'm not saying it's their fault, but it's just the reality. And I'm worried that Michigan's gonna just be the de facto Big Ten champion, and then that's gonna give them a trump card over. They're not even gonna play Illinois this year, probably. They're gonna play Ohio State once. So how much, as we're sussing out like which Big Ten team deserves the 1 seed, which one gets bumped down to the 2, do you think the regular season Big Ten standings are gonna matter? Is it gonna be head to head? Is it gonna be the full picture? What do you think? How do you think this is all gonna shake out?
Okay, first of all, I think it's the full picture. Secondly, I will use your platform to say the Big Ten better make Michigan and Illinois play. Like, that's a more important game to make up than Michigan, Nebraska, or Michigan, Penn State, or Michigan, Northwestern. You got to make up Michigan, Illinois. So that's number 2. Number 3, body of work, Ohio State wins. So I will not be surprised if Ohio State, if they continue this way, okay, if Ohio State ultimately is ahead of Michigan on the seed line. I won't be surprised at all if that ultimately is what happens.
Do you think there's a reason to release the top 16 as they're going to on Saturday, other than just to give guys like you and I and Tate stuff to talk about? Is there an actual like practical, and you're more sourced than we are. You talk to coaches, and is there value in this? Do they enjoy having this list, or is it ultimately worthless and just gives us something to talk about?
No, I think first of all, it's a great exercise for the selection committee because it forces them to take a snapshot in time and really assess where everyone is. I don't have this memorized, but I want to say that historically, and I say historically, I think it hasn't been going on that long, but over the last few years, I'm pretty sure it's been around anywhere from 10 to 12 of the 16, that were unveiled in February ended up being in the top 16 on Selection Sunday. So it's been around 3/4 have been in that grouping. And I would say that based on what we anticipate, I'll be very surprised if the top 8 that I rattled off to you don't end up in the top 16. The second 8, I think there definitely still could be some movement. You didn't bring this up, but I will. I really wrestled with Texas versus Texas Tech because Texas, had a better overall. Texas Tech beat them, but then Texas really struggled out of the gate from their pause. And so I lean Texas Tech a little right now. West Virginia is playing well. I lean there. Missouri, I was going to have in tier 3, but after the loss to Ole Miss on Wednesday night, which pretty bad, even though Ole Miss is playing well, but it was a thumping, I knocked them down to tier 4.
And Andy, don't you think that's kind of where the line is, right? It's like the Houston, Missouri, like we're not sure if they're going to take that leap into like being in a real contender, you know what I mean? Like Oklahoma feels like a team that's right there as well. Iowa's a team that we all liked. And like you said, Texas at one point was a tier 1 contender, and now they're not even in the top 16. So there's been a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and I would throw USC in that grouping as well, and Tennessee. Both
Tennessee,
have been, well, Tennessee more all over the map, and USC now is the sort of the new hot team out west. I mean, to me, I would say right now, the teams I have the most confidence in that will stay tier 1 or seed 1 line and seed 2 line, tier 2. To me, it's the first 4 I rattled off. So Gonzaga, Baylor, Ohio State, Michigan. Then if you were to say to me, okay, who are the other 2? I'd say Illinois and Virginia. Those are the 2 I have the most trust in will, be right in that neighborhood a month from now.
Andy, remind the listeners.
You agree with that?
I would agree with you. I don't have a problem with that.
I think so. I think people were sleeping on Virginia at this point, and Illinois is a team that at the beginning of the year we all thought they were a national championship Final Four contender. Then we kind of threw them away, and they're right there.
They're back. Yeah, Io's playing out of his mind.
6 Q1 wins.
Yeah. Speaking of Io playing out of his mind, I am hearing predictably, Tate and I predicted this would happen. That Luka Garza coming into the season was the National Player of the Year. He's everyone's pick for National Player of the Year. He, as good as he was last year, when he maybe should have won it last year. We liked Obi Toppin, whatever. He's been even better this year, Andy, and he is playing out of his mind. And yet there's some sort of fatigue that goes on when you enter a season. You're like, this guy's going to be the best player, and he just continues to be the best player all season. We get to this point in the season, we're like, there's got to be someone else, right? Like we got to make this conversation interesting. I feel like Ayo Dosunmu, I feel like Jared Butler. These guys are playing at a level where we could throw them into a conversation and to talk it out. So from your perspective, Andy, maybe I'll frame it this way: what feels more inevitable to you as we sit here on February 11th recording this? Luka Garza winning National Player of the Year, or Gonzaga or Baylor winning the national championship?
Wow, that's a tough question. I would say Garza winning it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a single elimination. You never know. But the thing that we cannot dismiss, and I think, Mark, you are a great example to, of someone that experienced this and could speak to this, which is because you were there with Greg Oden. As dominant as Luka can be, I don't think we can dismiss that he is the opposing scout priority every single game, double, triple team. And so Joe Wieskamp going off for, I think, 26 on Wednesday against Rutgers, that only happens because of all the attention on Garza and freeing up Wieskamp on the perimeter. And so anytime Wieskamp or Bohannon, they go off, it's because of all the attention on Garza. And, I mean, he literally just gets beat up every game, and yet he still produces anywhere from 18 to 30 points.
I think Garza's going to win it. I think he deserves it. But, like, you start
We're
fleshing
fatigued.
out.
We're fatigued.
Yeah, well, it's not even fatigue. It's just like you can make a case for Jared Butler. He's the best two-way player in the country. His team's undefeated. He doesn't have the luxury of, say, a Corey Kispert, a Jalen Suggs. I know Davion Mitchell's good. I know Maceo Teague. He's got good players beside him. But
Garza feels like we owe him from last year.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It like feels like a legacy thing.
Yeah.
But I could see voters.
He still put up the numbers.
Yeah.
The other player, guys, that I think could have done it, but he's had obviously great moments, but had Cade Cunningham had a Kevin Durant-like season, where he was clearly the best player in the country, then that would have been a really intriguing debate. Now, Cade obviously is having a really good year. I think he's going to probably edge out Jalen Suggs for freshman of the year, but it's going to be close. But had Cade Cunningham had a Durant-like freshman year, that would have been very interesting to see what would happen between the two of them.
What about a just very quick blue blood bubble watch? And I know you don't have the numbers in front of you, and you might not have given this much thought, but maybe just talk from your gut, Andy, just how it feels. Say Duke, who has a losing record, is 7-8, but as of Saturday, it felt like the Duke-Carolina game was sort of the winner maybe is on the right side of the bubble, the loser's not. There's still a lot of basketball left to be played, so maybe Duke. Michigan State is another team that like you could maybe see they have a lot of opportunities. We'll say on the schedule coming up. There's a path.
Yes.
There's a path. If Mr. March can make an appearance, there might be a path. And then I'll throw Syracuse in there
for you.
Yeah,
I'm going to make it very simple. Kentucky has to win the SEC tournament.
Okay.
They have the talent to do, but they do. As of right now, Duke has to win the ACC tournament.
Okay.
I don't think they have the talent to do that. I just don't see it. I don't think they can beat, hypothetically, like Florida State and Virginia consecutively.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. So I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think Duke's in the tournament. I think Kentucky, could, but they haven't been able to cross that threshold because the SEC is just not as deep or doesn't have like that elite team. And Michigan State, I think if they were to go, they just won, against Penn State. So I kind of looked at their final 10 that if they went 6-4, so now they've got the 1. So if they go 5-4 or 6-3 in these final 9 games, I think they can get in.
Yeah, Michigan State has Iowa coming up, Purdue, Illinois, Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana. Like, it's an absolute gauntlet, and the way they've been playing, they're probably going to lose them all. But, anything could happen. If Michigan State wins all those, suddenly we look up and we're like, wait.
Mr. Marks, there he is.
I thought this team was dead. Are they back now? So, all right. That I'm satisfied.
Thanks, Andy. You're the best.
Appreciate it, Andy. All right, thank you to Andy Katz, as always. Quickly, Tate, before we get to shout-outs, we have to do the Pac-12 update. I know we're running long on the show, but I can't go another week without doing fraud power rankings.
Please.
So, full disclosure, it is 5:44 p.m. on the West Coast right now. In about 15 minutes, Oregon and Arizona State are going to tip off. We had to record before that game, so I say that because what I'm about to say could be proven wrong or maybe right.
Yes.
Tonight. So if you're listening to this, obviously
this feels like a very butterfly effect type moment. No matter what you say here, it's going to change what happens.
I will say this. I looked up the spread of that game earlier today. It was 1.5. It's at Arizona State. Arizona State was favored by 1.5. I just checked right now before when we took the break, right, literally 20 seconds ago, and Oregon is now favored by 1. I don't know what that means. I'm not smart enough to make sense of that, but that's something. So anyway, that's the backstory on that because we're getting into the fraud power rankings. As I said,
perfect.
I am a fraud connoisseur. I can spot a fraud from a mile away. And we spend so much time talking about all the great things that the Pac-12.
He's a phony!
I spend so much time talking about all the great things the Pac-12 has to offer. Some have said nobody does more for Pac-12 basketball than I do every week. Thank you to those people who say that. But I figured the only way to be a credible journalist is to also talk about the bad, and that's what I want to do this week, the fraud.
Are you saying bag or are you saying bad?
Exactly. So here we go. Fraud power rankings, Pac-12 update. Number 1 on the fraud power rankings, Arizona State Sun Devils. And that's why it's important I tell you this because Arizona State may or may not beat Oregon tonight. And then I have people chirping at me saying, how can they be the number 1 frauds? I have a feeling they're going to lose. I have a feeling they're going to lose because they lose all the time. That's what Arizona State does. They are number 1 on my list because they were very high expectations. They were picked. I think it was UCLA and then Arizona State. And
they did the same thing as Iowa. They outgrew the shadow that they cast, and they weren't as talented as they thought.
Remy Martin was a preseason All-American. They're currently 6-8 heading into this Oregon game. They're riding a 2-game win streak over the Bay teams. They beat Stanford and they beat Cal, so they're not all is lost, but. They've been on a long COVID pause. This is their first game back tonight, so I don't know. But as the overarching the narrative of this year of Pac-12 basketball, Arizona State is by far the biggest disappointment. So they are number 1. Number 2 on the list, and making a strong push for number 1, the Boise State Broncos, who I rightfully called Andy out when he was like, Boise State belongs in tier 3 or whatever it was. I'm like, what? On what grounds? He's like, they won 13 in a row. And then you start sussing it out, Tate. They beat one team with a pulse. They beat BYU, as I said earlier in the show. Everybody's beaten BYU, and there's somehow BYU is still good. I don't know how that works.
BYU and Notre Dame were the 2 teams this year that everyone's like, I got to win over them. BYU, except for Duke now.
How have they've lost? It feels like they've lost 1,000 games, and they're still like considered good, and they're going to make the tournament.
Yes.
And it's very strange. Boise State has now lost 3 of 4. They just lost back-to-back games against Nevada over the weekend. They are 14-4. They have still they are one of the top 5 teams in the Mountain. Look, picture the Mountain West standings. Boise State is in the top 5, so there are 4 other teams. As it stands right now, Boise State is 1-3 against those other teams because they haven't even played Utah State or San Diego State. So what I'm saying is their record is artificially inflated. It was all a mirage, fraud.
Deflategate. Yep. The Broncos.
Number 3 on my list, and again, a very important context that they're playing tonight, the Oregon Ducks. So we have a fraud showdown.
They're number 1 on my list. Yeah.
10-4. Feels like they have a good season going, but they have lost 3 out of 5 heading into this game tonight, including losses to Washington State and Oregon State, which is not where you want to be. They're also they've played 5 games away from home, 3-2 in those 5 games. And their only wins are Seton Hall, Utah, and Washington. So Seton Hall is like the only team they've beaten with a pulse outside of their home arena. Oregon, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Like they were considered. We talked to Dana Altman before the season, and he was like excited about the season. He's like, I like our team. We're going to be very good. We're going to compete for a Pac-12 title. Not
they were the team in the
Yeah.
Pac-12. You know, outside of the LA teams, people said I like Oregon, but not quite.
Number 4 on the list, the Idaho Vandals. 0-15 Tate. Got to call them out for that. They are one of 2 winless teams. I almost said undefeated, the opposite of undefeated. 2 winless teams in all of college basketball now. The Missouri Valley State Delta Devils, they won the other night, so they got off the schneid. And Idaho and South Carolina State are the 2 winless teams. So there you go. Idaho frauds. Win a game.
It's got to be hard to pull for a team that, we're vandalists.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
It's pretty sick nickname though.
Yeah, the Vandals.
I like the Vandals.
It's like a rock band.
Yeah.
Like that's what it should be. It might be.
It doesn't
Probably
translate
is.
to success on the court as it turns out.
Some big fan right now is like, it is a rock band. Love
Idaho
the Vandals.
Finally, number 5, and boy, it pains me to do this, but
Don't do it.
I gotta
Don't
do it.
Don't do it. Better not be North Carolina.
It is the Pepperdine Waves.
Oh, thank
The
goodness.
9-8 Pepperdine Waves, who they're not having a bad season. They're still in the mix to like be the second best team in the WCC behind Gonzaga. Just beat San Francisco. Kessler Edwards, Colby Ross are both playing very well.
Colby Ross second in the country in assists.
I had to put them on there because they took UCLA to 3 overtimes early in the season. They then give San Diego State a good game, and I come out of that you remember they had that little pod set up at Viejas Arena, UCLA and San Diego State and Pepperdine was there. I come out of that thinking, oh my God, Pepperdine is going to be fun to watch. Like they're going to be
got some NBA players.
Yeah, they got NBA players. They're in Gonzaga's conference. They're going to definitely be the team that can challenge Gonzaga in the WCC. And they haven't really been that. Yeah. They're 9-8 this year. They got absolutely smoked by Cal State Bakersfield. Lost to Cal State Northridge, who's not very good this year, even though, so there you have it. That's Pepperdine had to make the list. But I got to say, as we're recording this, Colorado is absolutely stomping Stanford, and boy, does it pain me to say it, but Stanford is knocking on the door. Stanford is knocking on the fraud door.
Stanford, a team that, again, the expectation was this is the year we make the tournament, we assert ourselves as another team in the Pac-12 to be reckoned with. We got Zaire Williams, a potential, top 10, top 15 pick. Not quite.
San Diego State, I had my eye on, but again, they're hot right now-ish, but it feels very – the Mountain West is bad, dude. The Mountain West is very – basically, Boise State and San Diego State are about to play coming up, and one of them is going to be a fraud. I know that much. I feel like it's going to be Boise State, though, so I left San Diego State off. And then is there anyone else? I guess UCLA. Like, they got smoked by USC. I did not love that. UCLA has not been playing well lately.
USC is the team in the Pac-12. Yeah. I think they are the only team. And I feel like we've gotten to the point with the Pac-12 where we all know there's really only going to be one team every year.
Don't sleep on Colorado. Colorado's coming on strong-ish, but also USC's.
But also Colorado, we expected them to be pretty good. You know what I mean? They had some pieces coming back. So
there you have it. Those are the fraud power
Pac-12
rankings.
update.
Pac-12 update. Also, Quaddy Green had 23 points, and he against Oregon on Saturday. His 7th 20-point game. He has not hit 30 yet, so that was the only other note I had. So there you go. Shout-outs, closeouts.
Shout out to Devonta Schuler, the man from Ole Miss, a man that Zion Williamson said, quote unquote, he was something different. If you don't know, Devonta Schuler, who is a senior on this program, we like seniors. Come from the Dean Smith coaching tree here. We respect those who have put in the work. Devonta Schuler during the offseason said, I want to come back. I want to make sure people know I'm a pro basketball player. He's had now 5 20-point games on the season. He's the SEC Player of the Week. And back in the day, he played on a team called the South Carolina Hornets. It was an AAU outfit down there. And 2 other players that were on that team, Zion Williamson, Ja Morant. And on that team, he's 2 years older than those guys. He was the number 1 option. And Zion said he was the first player he had ever seen. Now, we got LaMelo Ball, close to my heart. But apparently Devonta Schuler was the first player he ever saw get a rebound and pull up from half court and just take a 3. And he said no one said a word.
Did he make it?
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. He didn't say that,
right.
but I assume he did. And anyways, Devonta Schuler, if you haven't watched him, they just blew out Missouri.
It's a good time to watch him.
Yeah, it's a good time to tune in.
Ole Miss is hot. Yep.
If you like Ja Morant, you like Zion Williamson, you want to have some sort of rooting interest, Devonta Schuler is the guy at Ole Miss. And also, people, if you want to talk about like reasons to care about college basketball, you know who loves Ole Miss basketball more than anything? Morgan Freeman.
That's right.
Yes.
I forgot about
Loves
that.
Ole Miss basketball. In fact, in February of last year, when they beat Mississippi State and routed them and had this great moment in time in February before COVID happened, Morgan Freeman was at that game. So I know Morgan Freeman was watching Devonta Schuler upset Missouri, and he was like, this is a good day.
Thoughts and prayers to the guy that was on the AAU team with Devonta Schuler and John Morant and Zion Williamson that's going to get asked about that every day for the rest of his life. Hey, who was on your AAU team again? Tell.
We should do a story about that. All right, man. See you later. That's Titus's life. Everybody wants to hear the story of the AAU team and tell it, and then he tells it to them. They go, all right, tight. Got it.
What else we got?
I mean,
Is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
The CIT. RIP to the CIT. No CIT this year, so I guess it really is over for Kentucky and Duke.
They're done. They're done now. Big Blue Nation is out.
They're not going to win this. The CIT announced today they're not. They're not having a tournament.
Coach
so
K is going to do
leaves.
an American Express commercial. That's my. If I had odds on that, that's
Dude,
the
you're
big
so
commercial.
right.
March Madness.
The Coach K versus John Calipari. What they're going to do with their free time to steal the spotlight back during March Madness. Oh my God, that's going to be.
Now is not a time for wins and losses. Now is a time to come together. Coach K.
Coach,
it's coming.
Coach K does a Bruce Springsteen commercial.
That's when he made the pivot.
Commercial.
He did an American Express commercial. Everyone's like, this guy's not that bad. He's coming back, folks. Don't you worry. He's coming back.
All right, see you guys next week.